This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
With the unfortunate cancellation of the first round, drivers who hope to build momentum before the holidays only have one chance to get things off on the right foot. Interlagos will effectively kick off our season tonight. The one upside is that this track is much more forgiving than the planned race at Montreal 1 week ago. But don't expect that'll mean a win is easy. The level of speed required for victory gets raised once more as we get ready to watch round 2 of the PRL GTE Sportscar series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing eSports network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. The colloquial name for this track, Interlagos, means between the lakes, but its official name, Autódromo José Carlos Pache, is given in homage to a race-winning Brazilian Formula One driver. We could rifle off trivia all day about this place, but perhaps it'd be more productive to take a look at our track guide to learn about it instead. Welcome to Autódromo's José Carlos Pache. Most fans and drivers simply know this place as Interlagos. Starting life as an absolute behemoth of a circuit, this Brazilian track was eventually truncated to the version you see today. Having hosted Formula One for roughly 3 decades, it's become very well known on the international stage. But it has also held rounds in the World Endurance Championship, as well as frequently seen Brazilian stock cars, motorcycles, and even truck racing. There's little difference between its 2 layouts, which includes the GP course and the Moto course, which simply adds a chicane to the end of the lap. In both cases, it's a tale of 2 circuits. The run past the start-finish line and into the Senna S, followed by the blast towards the Descida do Lago, are very high-speed sections that come back-to-back. Drivers will need to focus on top end in order to attack or defend. Expect most passes to happen in those 2 corners. But from Ferradura until Juchão, the track suddenly twists itself into a mess of hairpins and frustratingly technical turns. This can make car setup a real compromise, and for the latter part of the lap, an absolute pain when dealing with traffic. Pit exit is also a narrow affair, so it requires drivers to take care when trying to maximize their outlaps. On the upside, with this being a modern F1 track, there's paved runoff in abundance at many of the fast corners. The passion of the Brazilian fans always comes out in force at races, and it's no wonder with this picturesque track sandwiched right amongst the neighborhoods of Sao Paulo. It really is amazing how this track is smack dab in the middle of a bunch of neighborhoods, and you can see it from the scenery. But for these GTE cars, Adam, what are we looking at how these vehicles are going to handle it today?
Well, it can be tight at times, especially go through the handful of more hairpin style like corners like Pico do Pato, that I believe turn 8. Joe probably knows the name for turn 8 because Joe, you know the name for every single corner, I swear, in the world. But it can be really tight, especially those tight corners. Now, at the same time, though, some of your fast sweepers, actually, these cars handle particularly well. Of course, we've got the 15-turn layout here for today, 2.6 miles, 4.3 kilometers in length. One of the very few road courses across the world that goes in an anti-clockwise rotation. And, well, the ones that do, it's a pretty famous list. You should check it out sometime. But these GTE cars probably going to put on a pretty good show out there here today.
Absolutely. We've watched this series race here before, so We'll see how it handles once qualifying is over. But as always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products create an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series will get a ButtKicker game or two or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team and the team's championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Well, we've got a championship from last season to go over since we didn't get an opportunity to cover it at the last round. So let's take a look at how the points wound up. Abner Acosta with the victory over Christian Eisler, who moved up into second there towards the end of the season. How about Sean Romig, too? Bit of a dark horse. Usually was up towards the front, but really didn't show himself with phenomenal results, but still managed to third place overall. Holland and Peterson rounding out the top five were very, very close in points with Romig in the end. The team's championship also got settled at the end of last season, so why don't we go over those as well, Adam?
Yeah, Pateau CL Racing pretty much ran away with it there toward the tail end of that season. Movano Racing, second place, V-Power in third. The One Sim GTR group coming home in fourth and fifth. And, you know, a lot of those guys are going to be out there again for today competing in now a series championship that, of course, is going to be down one round, which is going to make the competition tighter toward the end of the season.
Absolutely. Only 9 that they'll be able to compete for points. They are simply throwing away the first round and not going to have a makeup race on that one. So it's down to 9 for these. Let's take a look at race number 2, though, and what the race itself will involve. As you can see, they do get one drop week, but they are not allowed to count the final round for that. There are 4 cars that they can choose from. They're all GTE class vehicles. There you see on the screen. And the race itself is 60 minutes long. While it is an open setup, the fuel has been limited, so you can expect 1 pit stop for fuel during this race. They have an incident cap still. You will get disqualified if you go over 20, and they have some bonus points, fastest lap, pole, or fewer than 3 incidents in the race today. There's certainly some runoff areas that it'll be easy to go off into since they are paved. Rack up those incident points. We hope you rack up subscriptions here on YouTube, especially here to IESN. It's very easy to subscribe to this channel. All you got to do is click on the big red button that says subscribe, and then you won't miss a moment here on the iRacing eSports Network. Make sure not to miss a moment on GSRC. Go and subscribe to our channel. You've got good reason to, because during this month of December, if you subscribe, you're automatically entered into a free giveaway on our merch store. If you want to go check that out, there's a link in the description below, but you'll have your choice of any item just by subscribing to GSRC. If you do that after the month, you're entered, and we'll do one more drawing for anybody entered before the month of December too. So you're covered even if you already were subscribed to us. Right now, out on provisional poll, it is Abner Acosta, our champion from last season. And how about this? Multi-time champion Karl Modoff has returned this season, and he is looking quick. He set the fastest time in warm-up, and now he's on the front row here in qualifying.
Yeah, we heard that he might be making a return, and sure enough, you know, here he is, and hopefully able to run full time here for this season. Also looking at Christian Eisler in 4th and Sean Romig there in 6th. So that's 3 out of your top 5 in point standings, along with Karl Modoff, already having a good start here in qualifying for now. Leif Peterson was another one of those guys that was in the top 5. He's down in 13th, but you go back to last season, and there was a number of races that he didn't qualify the greatest, but he finished well. So that could be just kind of the way he operates. And, you know, so we still could have a good run here for today. And, you know, Interlagos is going to be a place where, you know, surprisingly you'll be able to get some passing done. So they look for him to maybe move up in the field if he does, in fact, start that far back.
He's currently coming around to the junction right now. Going to finish off this lap. Leif Peterson, he's actually only had one timed one. Otherwise, he's had off somewhere along the line on his previous two. Let's see if he can make this one clean and improve on that 127.7 as he comes across the line in that Porsche. What's it going to be? Looks like he set a time, but it is just about half a second slower, unfortunately. So he's got to go around yet another one. One driver that's surprising me is Tyler DeZube. He's not only quick in the warm-up, but he's quick here in qualifying. Just a couple seasons ago, he was well down towards the lower part of the mid-pack. And right now, with a 5th place, that is a huge sign of improvement for the number 21. I'll have to keep an eye on him to see if he'll be a factor this season.
You know, and that's always great to see, especially on these series that we've covered for seasons and seasons, in some cases, years and years, is seeing a lot of the guys like Tyler DeZube who have started in the mid-pack. You see them develop and they start working their way up toward the front. And that's one thing, too. I mean, if you have a series that you want broadcast on GSRC, definitely hit us up, because we like following the guys as they improve their skill, improve their racecraft, and lead an example.
So he comes through the infield portion. He's slowing up a little here, so I wonder if he's backing off, get himself some clear space. Looks like he was somewhat close to Mike Burnett. Maybe just didn't feel happy with that lap and wanted to set himself up. So we check over on Christopher Pfeiffer. He was looking much better in the practice than he was right here in qualifying currently. His quickest at 27.5 has put him in 10th. And he's blinking a lot right now. That could disqualify this lap, depending. Hopefully this will count for the New Englander, as he was very, very quick last season. He switched over to the Ford, though. He was racing in the Porsche last time around, and doesn't seem to be helping him currently, though.
That's an interesting choice, and starting to see more and more guys, I think, actually try to go back to the Ford. The Ford was one of the more popular ones there for a long time. I think it was one of the first GTE cars that came out, and so guys got away with it, coming back to it. And as a Ford fanboy, I really like that.
Oh, I still think it's the prettiest car. I'm biased in that sense. It was indeed the first, very quickly followed by the Ferrari GTE.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So the Ford versus Ferrari continued as we watch Cal Quinn come across, and he does not improve on that lap. In fact, that was another one that did not count for him. 3 minutes left, minute and a half for most of these laps, so you can expect at least 2 more for most drivers, as Rame also stays in 13th, and he's going to pull back in. He might have enough time to get back around and get himself another lap before the checkered flag comes out for this session. Looks like nothing's changed up with our top 2. The front row still has Acosta on pole, Modoff in second. Diego Garrido just has earned a little bit of a reputation here in this series. He's known for being an aggressive driver, but he's very, very quick, as his qualifying time seems to imply. Week in and week out, Acosta increases his pole lap, but only very marginally. In fact, it was 6 1/1000ths of a second quicker than his quickest time.
Still better, though. Hey, I'll take it. I mean, that's pretty quick. I'm amazed at how close Carl Modoff is in speed here to him as he rounds the final set of corners for really, you look at the front straightaway here, and you technically have a turn 14 and turn 15 in there. It pretty much is one long flat-out run until you get down to turn 1, and he's on that right now. We'll see if he comes in better than he was.
Looks like he wasn't able to go quicker, about 4 or 5 tenths off of his 127 flat. He's got about 7 100ths to make up to get quicker than Acosta. But he still has time for at least starting one more. We're watching Kristen Eisler. This is a driver known for being a bridesmaid in the championship multiple times now. Probably going to be very, very hungry to finally get one. He's been beat by a few different drivers. It hasn't always been the same person that he's finished behind. And poor guy is probably extremely eager to wrap one of these up. This is going to be his first time putting points on the board today, if he does finish within the points. Let's see what he can do here starting in Interlagos. With him hailing from Hispanoamerica, it's not exactly in the same place, but there aren't too many tracks over in that region on iRacing currently. So I guess this is as close as he's going to get to a home circuit.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, I mean, the fact that the WEC this year had to replace Interlagos replaces it with, I guess, what you can consider my home track between that and Texas Motor Speedway. So I get to go see WEC this year at Interlagos' expense, and that's coming up here in about 2 months, Joe.
Ooh, I'm a bit jealous. I'd love to go see that.
Well, come on down.
If I could, well, clear our schedule out on GSRC for me in that case. But I'll get there eventually at some point as we watch Garrido now come around, try to get himself onto the front row. But that lap, also another that does not count for Diego. So he'll have to, actually, did he cross in time with the checkered flag? I think he just managed to start it in time. But now drivers are done who are crossing the line. Let's see who is going to be the next one. I believe Espinoza, the number 87. Here we see him on screen. His quickest at 28.2. He sits in 25th. He slows as he comes to the line, so obviously not interested in trying to go much quicker there. Luis Zambelli is the next in the number 72. He's all the way dead last of the drivers who set a time so far, so definite room for improvement there. And he does to a 1:29.7, half a second quicker, but he stays in 39th.
I think Christian Pfeiffer here, he still has a chance of coming down. We see Christian Eisler coming down. Christopher Pfeiffer starting around turn 14 and getting onto that nice, long, flat-out run to the start-finish line. Looking at James LeBlanc coming across. He does not improve. He was 0.3 off. Ted Lowendeck here coming across. I don't think he missed it by just a couple of hundredths. And here's Christopher Pfeiffer now. Or Pfeffer, rather. I always want to say Pfeiffer for some reason. It's Pfeffer. It's Pfeffer.
I
do realize
I may have accidentally said it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was actually 4 thousandths faster there, but doesn't improve his position.
And I believe he's the last one that can cross the line. That is it. Very few cars managed to go quicker on their final lap, but let's go through our starting order. Abner Acosta, the two-time champion, now tied with Modoff on championships, will start ahead of him. Modoff to the outside of the front row will be in front of Diego Garrido in third position. Christian Eisler starts P4. Tyler DeZube, who I was praising earlier, stayed in fifth in qualifying. Still very good showing for him with Sean Romig to his outside in sixth. Paulo Munoz starts P7. Ignacio Hortal starts in 8th with Jean-Marc Tremblay in P9. Christopher Pfeffer, as we mentioned, rounds out your top 10.
Caleb Lavender, he's going to start in 11th in row 6. Going to row, 12th will be Horatio Calquin. Justin Rem in 13th. Leif Peterson in 14th. So Leif actually dropped a spot. Ignacio Fredes, he's going to come home 15th. Jason Ray in 16th. Jose Malbrin in 17th in row 9. David Dueno in 18th position in row 9. Anthony Pisano 19th. And Ted Lowendeck in 20th. That's going to make up row 10.
Brett Thurman starts 21st tonight with William Janssen in 22nd. Ken Huber will be P23. Then to his outside, it is Robert Elder, followed by Andre Espinoza in the 25th spot. Sean Duhamel in 26th is then ahead of Mike Burnett in 27th position. James LeBlanc, who we followed to the line, wound up 28th. Jeff Carollo will be starting in the 29th spot. Then on the outside of him, rounding out the top 30, it's Jay Steffi.
And now in row 16, we've got James Hebb, and alongside him be Jorge Villegas. And then Kenny Rodriguez and Joey Trungale are going to make up row 17. Row 18 is going to go to Chase Mundy, and Donald Olson will be right with him. Spencer Semquich and Christopher Albright make up row 19. Row 20 is going to go to Luis Zambelli and Grayson Sullivan. And we got only one more out there, and that is going to be Gary Schillings. We're going to start 41 cars here today.
Whew. Quite a large field to kick things off, and with that many cars, this is not that long of a lap around this track. I wonder if we're going to see some lap traffic, especially in the portion that they're going to be starting into here on this pace lap here, Adam. This is just before the more technical second half of the lap. If they come across a slow car, that could be headache-inducing.
It can, and I guess the one saving grace, if you will, is the fact that we've actually very competitive on lap times here, with Abner Acosta 27 almost flat, and then you go down to Luis Mbale. He was the last one to actually set time. He's at 29.7, so it's only 2.7 seconds from the front of the field to the back of the field, which is incredible in a road race with 41 cars in the field. And so it will be a little while before we get to lap traffic, I think, but once we do, it will become a factor.
Yeah, that is very, very tight. Of course, they do split this into two fields. There is a Division 2 that is racing at the same time, this being the Division 1. These are the big boys that are competing up here. So you see them work their way through, down through Little Pine Tree, and then into the Ducks Bill. They're going to give control to Abner Acosta. He was quite a force to be reckoned with, but one thing he hasn't done that his rival next to him has done is won every single race in a season. Karl Modoff, that is his claim to fame, that he trounced the field one season by never leaving the top step of the podium in all 10 rounds. Now, is he rusty, or has he come back with just as much speed as he had before? Granted, he got beat by Acosta the last season that he competed here in the PRL GTE Sports Car Series. So this will be a continued rivalry between these two, Adam.
Yeah, and that's all getting ready to get kicked off once again here. They're nearing pit entry, and before too long, that pace car is going to pull off, and we're going to get the green flag.
It's going to be 60 minutes of racing with at least one pit stop for fuel over the course of the race. Could strategy play a part in things? Could there be some fuel saving from some of our drivers? We've seen that used before in these GTE cars. Acosta has control, and he does not wait at all. He immediately goes. Green flag is out. Modoff slots down to the inside. Single file behind them. Garrido a little bit defensive down into the first corner, even though he's well ahead of Eisler. Little side-by-side in the mid-pack, some three wide down towards the back of the pack as we watch them all swing through the Senna S. So far, so good. Very clean for the first real start of the season.
Not sure what happened, but that light blue car that you pulled off right behind the pace car, that was Tyler DeZube, already on pit road for some reason.
And sorry, there was a go at the lead from Modoff on Acosta. He's going to get another run coming off the Descida del Lago. Modoff also almost got hit by Garrido down in that corner, barely stayed out of him, but they're still fighting. Garrido almost now getting into the back of Acosta there. And he does this time. He runs into him. Both of them make contact a second time as everybody tries to get through. Acosta drifts to the outside, lets everybody by, but he is falling well down the order as Modoff now takes the lead.
Eisler moves into second off that, but Garrido is still there. He hung on to third after all that. Behind him is Muñez.
I mentioned that Garrido's got a reputation for that, and that is not going to sit well with his fellow drivers because he's done that on the first lap, make contact multiple times already last season. Let's hope he doesn't have too much damage. He seems to be keeping pace with first and second place right now. You can see he's still that third Ferrari in line. Paulo Munoz is trailing him with Sean Romig now having picked up fifth position as they finish the first lap.
And another guy that had trouble on the first lap was Jorge Villegas. He ended up having a spin, didn't touch anything. You don't need to go look at it, but anybody that's a fan of his, well, he is now in the back of the running order.
So a couple top drivers suffering some horrible starts as we see some action here on screen. This is down between Christopher Pfeffer and to his outside, that's Jose Malbron. Almost a little bit of a shove there coming out of the fourth corner. Malbron's going to have the inside, and once again, they nearly bang wheels as they come through Ferradura, through the double apex right-hander up and over the crest. Finally, the number 187 seals seventh place.
Abner Acosta fell back to 26th position in that. We'll watch him throughout the race and see what he's able to gain back.
Looks like he's already got one of them. He's up to 25th now. There's a lot of cars to pass. He does have speed, but trying to re-catch Karl Modoff, especially with a potentially damaged car, is going to be a tough ask. We continue to watch the middle of the top fields. Come out of the junction, Malbron leading a train of cars, really. The Ford of Pfeffer back there. That's Horatio Calquin behind him. Then you've got Tremblay, Lavender, Rame, Fredes, and Peterson.
Yeah, going back to P2 now, Christian Eisler having to hold off Garrido. Garrido was acting like he was going to try to stick his nose in there, ended up thinking better of it. So Eisler hangs on to second for right now. Garrido's right there. But as that continues to go on, Paulo Munoz is he's just right there nipping on Garrido's heels. We go back a little bit further than that, too. Their battle will be keeping an eye on is just for the fifth position. That's going to be Sean Romeg and Ignacio Hertel. That'll be going on here for a little bit as well.
Yeah, they're awful close to one another. Romig sporting similar colors to Pfeffer, as I assume they have our teammates Tremblay off out of the Decido de Lago. And just behind him, joining, that's Robert Elder and James Hebb, too. Not sure why they went off.
Yeah, there was a couple of vehicles that go there. It's kind of misleading in these GTE cars. Well, let's see, those right there. Well, ended up with a spin. That could be part of the reason you end up with a runoff. But going down into Decido de Lago, it gets kind of misleading there a little bit in the way that you think you got more room to break than what you do. Ooh, big contact in the middle part of the field. Ken Huber just got knocked into the tires hard.
Yeah, that was down in the Duckspill. Let's see if we can figure out what happened to him here. And that was contact that we saw with the driver that we saw go off at 4. So Huber's stuck into those tires. That was Jeff Carollo who got into him there down into the Duckspill, and Carollo lost a position to Acosta in that process. We've gone back to the replay on the first lap. This is what happened with Acosta and Garrido. These are two drivers that have made contact on track last season a couple times, if I recall. And it was just under braking. Modov did a brilliant job to see that happening and give them space, too. He could have easily been collected in that.
He really could have been, and that's just heads-up driving there using, probably turning his head a little bit there. I don't know if he races VR or not, or just using the buttons to turn his head. That's heads-up driving to be able to kind of anticipate and knowing who you're around as well. And Garrido has now moved into second, by the way, but he still has Eisler right there and Paulo Munoz. One guy we were watching a little while ago, Sean Romeg, he's actually dropped back to 7th.
Oh, well. He's been passed by Malbron and Hortal since we last
Speaking
looked.
of pass, Hortal now having to hold off a hard charge in Malbron. Malbron right there. He's got the momentum coming down the front straightaway. He's going to be able to take it here from Hortal. Hortal's going to slip into his slipstream, see if he's able to do anything with it here. They haven't even hit the pit entry yet. Hortal looking. Malbron's going to go a little defensive, and he'll be able to retain that spot.
Great stuff from the 187. Keep in mind, he started 17th. He's already up to 5th. We're only on lap 5. He has just gobbled up the cars in front of him. And I'm curious to see, now that he's got clear track, what kind of pace he has compared to the top 4, which is Munoz, Eisler, Garrido, and Modov currently. And we might actually have some action going on for second place. Ooh. Oh,
Garrido was off. I saw him tires in the grass there when I was going to him.
Yeah,
he ran way wide. It was at a junction. He was way wide.
I think that was the 4th corner. I think that was Decido de Lago.
Oh, yeah. It was Del Lago.
And then for some reason, he stayed wide off of there and slowed down, let both cars have the position. So Munoz moves up, and so does Eisler. But as we come back live, Munoz is under attack as Garrido's right behind him. As they break down into the junction, it's a long run uphill. They want to get the best launch possible. Both of them looking much better than Christian Eisler off that corner as they're gaining hand over fist on the 727. Is that going to be enough to catch them down into the Senna S, though?
Modov's up there, not even paying attention now what's going on behind him. He's starting to set sail.
I think this is the way that Modov is used to racing in this series, just getting that gap to the lead, almost Vettel-esque, where he gets to the front and no one can catch him. Eisler was not caught down into that first chicane, but here we go again with Munoz and Garrido. Garrido's got the run. We watch from the gearbox of Munoz. He looks to the inside. No defensive move from Paulo, and he's going to let him through.
And if I'm Paulo, I'm not going defensive on Garrido. We've already seen Garrido make 2 mistakes in this one. And, you just want to be able to just kind of take advantage when that third mistake almost happens, and it's bound to happen. And that's smart driving. Don't force the issue. Just run your race. Ignore what he's doing almost.
Yep, maybe he could ride the slipstream a little bit here. Maybe that could get him closer up to Eisler ahead of them. Fight for a potential podium. Let's give an update on Acosta since we last looked, because I think he's recently overtaken a bunch of cars. He's up to 16th. Looks like there's a bit of a squabble between the SRT cars behind him. That's Thurman and Espinoza. They're going to settle that out in favor of Thurman, taking 17th. Ted Lowendick also in there, and his Ford. Good close fight as they come up back through Water Tower and Subidos dos boxes. And it looks like a bit of a slipstream to Espinoza here. He might be able to reattack Adam.
Yeah, he's going to have a shot at it. In fact, here he comes. Head full of steam, past the start-finish line, and Thurman's going to let him have it. But in the process of letting him have it, Lowendick takes full advantage of it, and he actually almost got both of them right there. Backs off as they head through the Senna S. And Espinoza gets a great run out of the S right there, and he's on his way down to Sadia del Lago.
Boy, Lowendick had great heads up in that situation. Thurman's going to try and get it back, though. Sticks his nose in, but he can't get deep enough on the brakes. Janssen behind him was also thinking about it. They all stay in position. It is Lowendick 18th, Thurman 19th, and Janssen 20th.
And back here looking at Ignacio Fredes, and I don't know if he's just slower than these guys and he's causing them to kind of train up a little bit right here, but he's got a long train of cars behind him with Justin Ram, Caleb Lavender, Leif Peterson back there, Anthony Pisano, and David Dueno. So that's quite a few cars in a short amount of space.
Yeah, and he's got to be worried if one of them gets by, it almost would be like the floodgates opening up. Everybody else is going to be eager to get through. Rame's a little too far back, though. Wonder if Fredes maybe trimmed the wing out, make sure he's nice and quick on this portion where it's a lot easier to pass. And in fact, behind him, Rame is having to go defensive on Lavender. Lavender's going to stick to the racing line, try and keep it on the rubber. Let's see if that'll give him the shot out of the Senna S through the Curva del Sol. No, he starts to fall back slightly. That big old train of cars stays right with it. Peterson and Pisano also giving watch.
Yeah, here's another little train that we got going on a little bit further back in the field. Going back to 23rd, 24th, Jeff Corallo, Robert Elder. Oh, and Chris Mundell getting very close there. Oh, man, almost going 3 wide there. Heading in, I believe that was Delgado, or excuse me, Desadia del Lago. That got hairy in a hurry. Everybody gets out of it, though, without actually running into each other. Jeff Corallo is going to slide, though. He's going to pull those guys right back to him. We can't get the traction down.
That's Heb, who managed to come out in 24th in the orange and gray Porsche. And that's going to trip up Elder. And unfortunately, he gets passed by Mundy, who also gets a lot of wheel spin there out of Little Pine Tree. So finally, they get single file once again. That moves Corollo to 23rd, Heb to 24th, Mundy 25th, and Elder 26th. Not missing anything up at the front. They've just been gapping each other a little bit. Everybody getting space up at the front of the field. You see our leader, Carl Modoff, currently about 3.2 seconds ahead of Christian Eisler. What if
that gap's coming down? That gap's actually come down almost a half second in the last couple laps.
There we see the comparison between them. So, indeed, last 2 laps, Eisler managed to gain pretty consistently 2 to 3 tenths on him. But before that, he was losing. So maybe he's turned up the wick.
I got to wonder, too. I mean, Modoff ran up that lead. Could he maybe be trying to, save a little bit here? Maybe save the car some? Maybe just not pushing it, knowing that if he needs to, he'll just run it back up. Maybe even something as simple as prolonging how long it's going to take him to run into the back of the lap cars. There's a lot of different things he could be doing here. But the bottom line is that Eisler's catching him, so it deserves watching.
Yeah, he is a thinker's driver. It's not just his speed that's dangerous, but he knows how to work the strategy in this series. And he could be watching after those tires. If we watch a group of cars heading up and towards the Senna S now, that's our top group behind Modoff that are spread apart by about a second to second and a half each of them. Last of them in the train is Hortal. Meanwhile, battle on screen there. That's Acosta, and he's gotten up to 15th position now that he ran down Duino. This is that group you were talking about before. He's got a buffet in front of him. Let's see how hungry he is.
I'm going to say he's pretty hungry, considering the fact he started this recovery drive and, 26th position, and now Abner Acosta all the way up to 15th. So he's already gained 11 spots since that lap 1 incident. He's just clicking people off at this point.
So after Duino, he's also now got Pisano in front of him and Peterson. Then after Peterson, it'll be Caleb John Lavender. But one at a time, he's got to try and start picking them off. Not many opportunities here in the latter half of the lap. Already rocked up to the back of Pisano. Could he maybe get a good enough launch off of the junction that he doesn't even have to outbrake him into the corner? He's going to stick right with him, and he's going to get a good slipstream here.
Gaining. Draft playing a big role, especially with that BMW. We've all seen the memes of just how much bigger that BMW appears than everything else, and of course it does punch a little bit of a hole in the air. But at that point, it's almost kind of the reverse for BMW getting passed by the Ferrari there.
Costa now up to 14th. We have a change for 4th position between Malbron and Munoz. Checking to see on the replay here to see when this happened. Wow. Slowdown penalty, I think. Maybe cut a little bit too far inside of turn 8, did Munoz? Not a place you often see a car just suddenly slow down like that.
Yeah, that's going to be my guess right now. And by the way, Modoff is starting to pull back up on Eisler.
Ooh, he certainly is. It's up to 3.9 now, making Christian work for it. We're just about starting to get into the pit window soon for these drivers, but it's awful early, and we rarely see many take an early stop in this series. It's usually most going as long as possible. Where is the lap traffic in terms of Modoff? I think he's got a long ways up to Jay Steffi, who's going to be the first one he reaches. About half a lap still. So we watch Eisler work his way out of the Curva de Sol, and followed here by Malbron. So Munoz has been sticking with that 187 ever since he had that mysterious slowdown penalty, making sure that if Malbron makes a similar mistake, he can easily capitalize. Let's go back to 13th place, because here goes Acosta again.
Yeah, Acosta, just he's on a tear, and Leif Peterson hasn't kind of shown the speed I was hoping he would during the race, but Abner Acosta is going to eat him right up here. I'm going to look at his laps just overall here. A couple laps ago, he ran about a 28 flat. Just to give you an idea, see if I can find Modoff here. Modoff, his last lap was 28.2. So he's at times been faster than Modoff.
So we watch him ride behind in the tire tracks of Leif Peterson. Acosta was not afraid to get close to the back of that Porsche. So nearly got into him going through Ferradura, but he set himself up well coming off of the junction. Let's see if this is going to be a good enough slipstream. As he starts to gain, he ducks to the inside, and Peterson's not going to fight it. In fact, that looks like a little bit of a lift there from the 317. Give 13th place to Acosta. And I think ahead of them, there's a battle between Romig and Calquin. Calquin is going to get that. It's not over yet. Look behind them as well. That's Rame and Fredes.
Yeah, with oh wow, that was aggressive. And Fredes ain't scared. Like, I'll take you on the outside if you give me the room.
Yeah, both of them are feisty right now. This is for 10th place between these two. Fredes, who we ride on board with, chasing the Porsche of Rame coming down through Ferradura. And he backs off a little bit now at this point. But wow, that was a real quick jink that he made down the Retta Oposta. It's a good thing that they didn't clip one another at that move.
I've seen these guys, they're getting pretty racy, some of them making moves like that, and you got to be careful because eventually it'll come back to haunt you.
Acosta's got to be watching that too, because if they're racing that hard, once he reaches them, he maybe needs to treat them with a little bit of care. We'll see. It's not too far for him to catch up to them at this point, just a couple seconds up the road.
It may only be race 2, and you may have a drop in there, but you also got to remember, we lost round 1 because of the problems that they had on the server. You end up having now, a lap 1 incident. You want to try to recover as much as you can. So he can't afford to sit back and kind of watch those guys. You don't want to use this race as your drop in case something happens later on in the season, because it may only be a 9-race season now, but those 9 races, they'll go away pretty quick.
All 4 of these drivers are just weaving all over the track trying to find the line that they want. Romig to the outside of Calquin isn't successful in the Descida del Lago, but this has brought up Rame right behind him, looking to see if he can overtake Romig in the process. Tries the inside of Ferradura, but there's just not enough braking into that corner. Maybe a surprise attack here into 8. Oh, behind them, a lockup there from Fredes, trying to stay out of the back of Rame.
I just can't believe how close Romig was to the back of Calquin right there, and in turn, what you got going on back there with Ram and Fredes, Abner Acosta now has joined the party officially.
I'm curious to see if he can get more than one here, especially since that draft is going to be huge. So many cars right in front of him. If they go side by side, it'll be all the better as they climb up the hill. Not the best exit out of the junction for Abner Acosta that we've seen prior. He's also bringing along Lavender in the process. Doesn't want to lose another position that he just gained. Big defensive move from Rame down the front stretch, but slowly that Porsche drifts back to the outside, not totally out there, as he tries to make sure and cover himself off. No move attempts for the first time in a few laps among this group.
Yeah, looking at Romig here, I think Romig's going to take a shot at Calquin. Maybe not, but you do have Rame and Fredes side by side.
Fredes has got the inside. And they're going to go 2 by 2 into the corner. Acosta tries to position himself to take advantage of it. Still side by side in both pairs. Nobody willing to give way. This is blocking the track for Abner effectively. As Romig holds the inside down through the horseshoe. Can he finally get it done? He's just got to be good on the brakes here into turn 8 over Calquin. He settles that one. Behind them, it's still side by side between Rame and Fredes. Both of them working hard to race wheel to wheel and seal the deal, and it finally goes to Rame.
Rame also was hanging on really well in places where you don't necessarily want to go side by side in these cars. You could tell it was offline. It didn't want to behave, but he kept the throttle down and survived all of that. Yeah, this is one thing I like about GTE racing, Joe. You look at this big pack, you have all 4 of the different manufacturers and car types that we have in this race right there in that one pack, and they're all very evenly cut. I'd say the balance of power is on point for this race.
Absolutely. Oh, and that was Romig heading into the pits.
Leif Peterson joining him. Here we got a battle for third going on now.
Yeah, that's Malbren and Garrido. Garrido got that position away a little bit earlier, so what's Malbron got underneath him? Can he go on the attack and give Diego a little taste of his own medicine? He's looking awful fast there in that BMW, hounding the Ferrari as they come down to the horseshoe, but backs out of it by the time they hit the braking.
So tight.
Amazes me how much trust there is between these drivers, with just inches to spare between the bumpers at times. Now down into the duckbill once more. These two have dropped off of second place Eisler. It's about 3.5 seconds between them. Ooh, and behind them, I thought Acosta maybe had gotten someone. Raymond Fredes were certainly doing a little bit more battling. This group having withered down a couple cars because of the pit stops now. Few finally saying that they could maybe gain some time getting out of this crazy pack just by pitting early. Fredes under attack from Acosta as they come up the front stretch, but he's going to make him go the long way around. Acosta drifting up high off to the right side. Braking hard down into the center S, side by side, almost making contact. And he has to get out of it. But it looks like Garrido lost 2 positions here. And he's coming back at Munoz right now. He's down to the inside of the Descida del Lago as they go too wide, and he gets that one back. But what happened to Garrido? Oh, wait, no, that's Hortal. Hortal just passed him, excuse me.
Garrido going down the last time into the Senna S, he was having to fight off Malbron, and he ended up running wide and into the grass through the half of the Senna S.
That's what slowed him up. He was just offline, and I had mistaken Hortal for the other drivers I was mentioning. He had a good run. Garrido quickly goes from 3rd to 6th.
Trying to go back and see if anything happened with Acosta while we were watching that, and indeed he got Fredes finally, and now has the sights set on Ram. If I'm Abner Acosta, that is one guy I think I would probably try to come down pit road and get out of that pack and maybe back onto a cleaner track.
Absolutely, as we watch a side-by-side battle between Hortal and Garrido. Oh, and Garrido's going to lift. So Diego decides it's better to maybe just take 6. He didn't like the way the car braked on the inside line last time. Rame now pits out of that huge pack we saw before. Brings the Porsche down. Oh, but he misses his stall. Has to back up into it. That is going to be costly. Garrido gets by Hortal in the meantime, but I think Ignacio might be able to get him back. He had to run off the corner. He's right underneath the bumper, and then eventually thinks better of it. And Acosta got Cal Quinn. It's all going off at the same time here. Right in the top 10, a lot of action. Acosta now up to 8th here on lap 18 after falling to 26th on lap 1.
He's got that BMW working hard here tonight, and it's all about those points. It's all about setting yourself up for the season-long championship so he can try to repeat for this season. As he's got his number 1 competitor out there, Karl Modoff, who's continuing to drive away.
Modoff's gap now is up to 4.2 seconds over Eisler, taking little chunks here and there. Apparently we've missed a little bit of action from Mundi. The number 12 has gone from 35th to 20th. Oh, and he just had contact. Commentators curse, and someone disappeared. Tyler DeZube made contact. That was Heb. That was Heb that we just lost due to the incident limit. And unfortunately, DeZube is going to park it. We watched the replay. Just, wow. I'm trying to think of any time I've ever seen 3 wide through the duck's bill, and you can see why, because it didn't come out well. Oh, there was too much damage on DeZube. His car was crabbing. That's why he came to a halt.
Yeah, that was not insignificant contact there. You know, and he's another guy that You know, he came down pit road right there at the start of the race. Started, you know, technically he started up toward the front, but with that coming down pit road, he essentially started in last and off the pace, but he had climbed up to 23rd before all that.
Yeah, I tried to look, and it almost seemed like he still had qualifying fuel in the car or something.
You know, that could be exactly why he came down pit road. That would make sense. And hey, I've made that mistake before too. So I
it's
can't
an iRacing
criticize.
rite of passage.
It is. It is.
We lost another position of Pfeffer. Let's see what happened on the replay here.
And he fell way back.
It was another mistake. Yeah, this is into the Cita del Lago. He was under pressure from Hortal, and he went wide. And then Pfeffer snuck through. There's no slowdown penalty for going wide out there, so not sure why he slowed down as much as he did.
He probably just missed his braking point and didn't want to jump back out in front of those guys, but then he just never came back up to speed. So maybe something isn't right. Watching Hortal now coming back on, coming out of the stall.
He is, and he's coming out into traffic, unfortunately. He's going to be right behind Brett Thurman, which is a driver who has not pitted. This is not good for Ignacio.
Yeah, Ignacio was off again. He lost another spot. That was to Acosta that last time. He's still off the pace.
Yeah, Diego was the one that lost out there. That moves him to 7th. However, he has not pitted yet, and a few drivers in front of him have pitted, so he will gain... he'll lose a couple places potentially there, I should say. So it could be worse off than what we're seeing.
Back in 8th now, and we can move Abner Acosta up to 7th. I'm interested to see if Diego pits here this time by.
Due to the
maybe his fuel consumption wasn't right. Maybe he didn't get his fuel level right, and he's just trying to bring it back around.
I don't know. He did make contact with the front of his car. I wonder if the Ferrari is suffering a little bit of radiator damage, and he's starting to notice it's overheating.
Maybe. Well, he's bleeding spots.
Yeah, Fred is now catching him. His teammate. See if he lets him by easily. He's just going to pull over and let Fredez through. Huh. So something is plaguing the number 40, or something has caused him to slow down, but we're not entirely sure at the moment. But Acosta up to 6th position and has about 20.4 seconds up to Carl Modoff, the leader.
Oh, we heard something about Monday here.
Yeah, he's turned around in the Senna S, finally gets himself a gap to get going. This is losing him a lot of positions. He's down to 29th.
Oh, and it was contact with Robert. No, he actually lost it under braking, and it shot to the inside wall on him, and he came back up into Elder off the inside wall. And that was Leif Peterson. Leif Peterson barely missed him, too.
Wow, that is a shame for Monday.
He had himself a really good run going.
It's not necessarily how you are on one lap. It's all the laps put together that settles this race. Right now, our highest pitter is still Hortal, by the way, as we've now passed that halfway point. He's sitting in 16th position. You see him on screen coming back up the hill. Really, our biggest mover is Jose Malbron, who still is in 3rd position. The number 187 we mentioned earlier started 17th and is now on the podium. There you see as he comes towards the horseshoe. Oh, and Fredez and Garrido are swapping positions again. Garrido back up to 7th now.
Elder and Leif Peterson just rubbed fenders a little bit. They both got away from it, so let's just stay there. That might be bigger than what it ended up being.
We're watching the battle here between Fredez and Garrido coming down through the Ducksville. I wonder if they're maybe working together a little bit. Granted, if Garrido was short on fuel, I would expect he would try to stay behind his teammate.
Hey, you want to take a guess at what the fastest car in the top 10 is right now?
Does his first name start with a C and last name start with an M?
No. Abner and Costa.
Ah. Last lap, 28.6. Not his quickest, though.
Yeah,
Actually, about half a second off his quickest.
Yeah, and that was actually just coming across the line. The lap before that was a 28.5, and Modov had run a 28.6 or 7 there. So Acosta, you know, I bet he wishes he wasn't 20 seconds behind right now.
He's had 2 laps quicker than Modov in the last 5. The 3 in the middle there, 19, 20, and 21, were a little slower. The worst of them about just shy of 3/10 slower there on lap 20. Could have been some battling, though. We have seen him have to overtake quite a few cars. Got a few of our mid-packers also pitting. Duino and Elder are in. I think Elder probably due to the damage that you talked about, the contact he had out on track.
You know, for a race that started at Interlagos with 41 vehicles, we've only had that looks like 5 retirees so far out of those 41 vehicles, and so that's pretty good, I think, for a track like this with that many cars.
Tell you what, that close-up shot we had of Elder, you really saw a lot of damage on the front of that Porsche. He might be suffering straight line speed issues. So we've come back to Cal Quinn, who is in 9th. That's Lavender chasing him in the number 42 Ferrari. Both of them are electing to stay out. They are not too far behind the pair that we mentioned earlier of Garrido and Fredes. About 1.8 seconds back. However, Cal Quinn and Lavender are not teammates in the same way that Fredes and Garrido are. In fact, I think Cal Quinn is teammates with those two in front of him. Sister teams, at least. Another wide. Wow. You know what? I'm kind of afraid for Garrido here. We've seen him go off multiple times. I wonder if he's close to the incident limit at this point.
It could be. He's starting to get some speed back. He had dropped down to 33, 32, 30-second laps, and all of a sudden now he's back into the 28s. So I think he's back in his groove.
Get a bit of a train forming. Lowendick is being chased by Pisano, Espinosa.
Actually, he just got around Pisano.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's see, where did this happen? Ooh, you know what?
Lowendick,
This was a brave move. Did it around the outside through Ferradura, which is not easy to do, of Pisano, and made it stick. It's a little bit slow out of the Cita del Lago, going wide there. Saw the opportunity, and so watch the replay. I can report that Pisano has elected to come into the pits since then. So there you can see him getting work done. This should be scheduled as far as we can tell. Not any obvious damage on that Ferrari. Acosta continues to chip away at things. It is down to 19.9 up to Karl Modov. Remember I said it was 20.4 before, but I'm not sure that this is enough pace for him to catch him, unfortunately.
No, it definitely won't be. But, you know, if after having an incident like that at the start of the race, where if you can recover into the top 5, you've done a great job. And that's the kind of job that Abner, that could be a championship winning job when we get to the end of this thing, Joe. I mean, that's how much is on the line for him here.
And he's not done climbing, mind you. He's got about 3.5 seconds up to Pfeffer. And it's another 3 seconds up to Munoz. So I'd say those 6 seconds up to P4 are doable, depending on how consistent he is. As we look at our leader, Modov, now dealing with the lap traffic. He just went by Albright there in the Porsche.
And all this, thus approaching the 20-minute mark here of the race. We've got about 22:31 left.
Yeah, time is running out, and we're getting to the end of the pit window. With so many cars who have yet to pit, it's going to be a flurry of action in there. I always worry a little bit when that happens. On the oval side, we see this a lot here, Adam, where if a pit is full, it can be easy to make a silly mistake like miss your pit stall.
Yeah, and lots of distractions going on and everything else. And it's not a hard pit entry, but it's kind of like the go into a Decido Delago. It can be misleading in that you think you have a lot more space than what you do. So I've seen guys get speeding penalties here because you want to try to stay on the throttle for as long as possible, and all of a sudden, oh man, I'm right next to the slowdown codes. I better actually brake. And so that's if you haven't practiced pit entry here, well, it could come to haunt you.
That was Modoff lapping Elder. He's going to have more lap traffic in front of him in a moment. Duhamel also returning to the track. Let's see how aware he is once he gets out here. He will get the blue flags. And it looks like he's going to be able to easily let Modoff by. But he's in a battle with Elder, so he doesn't want to lift too much. And it looks like Duhamel will retain 26th. Really, that was a bad exit off of turn 4. Elder with the run as we take a look at 7th with the battle between Ferraris. This is between Garrido and Fredes. Fredes not quite close enough on the run down the Retta Oposta.
Yeah, Fredes, he's been, going between about a tenth to a half second back of Garrido. And of course, keep in mind, these guys are teammates, but it just doesn't seem like he's in any hurry to try to force the issue or get around him. I think they're just coasting right now and just driving together.
Certainly seems like it.
And until Garrido makes a little bit of a mistake right there, and even then he didn't force the issue.
Looked like a lockup there into the corner, just ahead of them. Acosta's cut the gap down again. It's now 19 seconds up to Karl Modoff. That was about a second within 3 laps, I'd say, that he chopped that down. Had a pass for 17th as well between Rame and Peterson. Looks like Malbrun also taking a stop. Pfeffer following. Garrido. Now, did Fredes? No, Fredes stays out.
And that could be teammates talking too. Hey, man, I want to come in alone this time. You come in the next time.
Yeah, this isn't... Oh, and how did Malbrun get in and out in 4 seconds? Usually a pit stop is about 10 to 12, sometimes upwards to 14.
Even with just, I don't know. I don't know if he took enough fuel there.
And he's a regular in this series.
Garrido is still in the... Garrido's out of the car.
Ooh. I couldn't really see major damage on it.
I still don't.
Yeah. Interesting. So, and Malbrun went off. Malbrun is off. I'm not sure why, though. It's down through
and he's slow. He's
out of fuel. He didn't. He forgot to check the fuel box. Well, they don't usually take tires in this series, so
he's just trying to bring it around. Yeah. He's going to try to cut the course right here. Try to shorten the distance to try to get back on pit road.
Meanwhile,
Modoff is in.
Yeah. Well, I think he needs to fire that fuel guy because that is a you had one job sort of situation. Acosta joins in the pits. Eisler is in, so is Munoz. Oh man, that is a podium gone missing there for Malbrun. He easily could have been up there.
Malbrun's done. Malbrun's done. He couldn't get back up the hill. He's actually rolling back down the hill before he taps the brake, and he's going to have to take a tow.
Just sheer disappointment. Only driver left to pit up at the top of the field is Jason Ray. But everybody else from the top 10 has come in. See a few drivers. Looks like Kenny Rodriguez is pitting. Villegas, another one that we're looking for to pit. He does. And Albright. Oh, Kenny was way beyond his pit stall. Speaking of missing your pit stall, it was about a mile past there. Ray with a very light right foot, and the 722 seems to be able to go a lap longer than anybody else bar Christopher Albright, who I believe actually might even be a lap down. Oh, looks like he is on the lead lap.
Modoff. We're here. Modoff might be slow. Oh, on the pit stop. Okay. Ooh, okay. So I heard Modoff might be slow, and it made me like all nervous there for a second. No, apparently his pit stop was a little slower, and I think you could see that in just the gap between him going back to Eisler. You know, he that's back down to under 3 seconds, so gained a lot of time there. Maybe took more fuel than what he needed. I think he still feels comfortable though.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain Modoff played it safe on fuel because he had, what was it, about 5 seconds back to Eisler before the stops? Well, it's about 2.7 now. So even with that extra fuel, he's retained the gap. He knows he's quicker, and it keeps him from making a silly mistake and sputtering to the line. We got confirmation that Zube was on qualifying fuel, unfortunately. That's why he pitted on the first lap. But so, I guess in the end, that one didn't matter since he wrecked out today. So sad to see that. Oh, Jason Ray just spun out and in the pit lane, and he's blocking it as Malbron comes out. Well, I don't think I've ever seen a wreck like that on the exit of pit lane here at Interlagos. I've seen pit lanes blocked on entry.
I've done that in an F1 car. Does that count?
Oh, and Trem Blaze had something with Duino. Looks like, oh, this came from Lowendick. Lowendick got into him, and poor Duino was just an innocent victim. Oh, T-boned him.
Ouch.
Wow. Duino was awful close even before that to the Ferrari ahead.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, there was literally no place to go in that situation. Caused big damage on the front. Where did Malbron end up after that? Looks like he's the last car running of everybody right now. What a change in fortune for the 187.
Hey, don't look now, but we might need to watch Abner Acosta some more here going down to the end of this race. He's only about 3 seconds behind Christopher Pfeffer now, and that would give him a podium after all of that.
He's got 2.7 seconds to make up. The 66 is certainly not going to take that one lane down. I think he'll fight him for it, considering we got less than 14 minutes to go. An update on Lowendick after that contact. He did come into the pit lane and is taking extensive repairs now. You see Pfeffer's Ford being chased by Abner Acosta's BMW. You can see him now, and boy, do we know, Adam, that is just all the more incentive for a racer to get on it and try and attack.
It also opens the door to making mistakes, though. So you got to be careful. You got to stay out of your own way, too. I mean, that's going to be critical. But Abner Acosta, he's cool, calm, and collected. He's not the kind of guy that's going to go out there and make mistakes like that, but you still got to be careful about it.
See, Brakes chasing William Jansen. This is a lapped car, this Ford that he is just behind. So wrong Ford in front of him. He's looking for the one of the number 66. Looks like Jansen's going to pull out of the way. He doesn't want to become even more of a headache for Acosta. He knows he's had a bad day. So the 31 slips through. It's now down to 2.3 seconds. What if we could go back to 16th place? Because Paulo Munoz has Brett Thurman, rather, right behind him. SRT driver within about half a second here. They plunge down through Ferradura over the double apex crest and then down into the slow right-hander of 8.
Paulo is one of those guys that started this race with a lot of promise and just, unfortunate turn of events here and there. And, well, he ends up finding himself all the way back in 17th position and having to hold off that spot for Brett Thurman.
Thurman's looking for the launch off of the junction here, but it almost looks like he's falling back. I wonder if Munoz maybe got this spot recently and is pulling away, because it has gone from about 0.2 of a second at one point now up to 0.8 of a second. And Thurman and that number 69 SRT machine doesn't seem to have much of a response.
Go back to Justin Rain here. And he's locked into a battle.
Yep, he's being chased down by Leif Peterson. You talked about Peterson's better race pace. He's gone from 14th on the grid now to 9th, looking at a potential 8th.
Yeah, and really, I got to say, I made a comment about race pace earlier, but really a lot of those spots have come lately here just being clean. That's how he's been able to do it. He's been able to take advantage of other people's mistakes and you move up spots like that. And now here in the last, 5 minutes, he's finally turned up the wick just a little bit and starting his climb.
The only driver that's done better than him in the top 10 is Fredes, who sits in 6th, having qualified 15th, one behind Peterson. Very nice run for the 96. There you see the Ferrari on screen now, just as we come down to 10 minutes to go on the clock. Curious to know, after the pit stops now, what Acosta's pace looks like in comparison to Modoff. Because I'm looking at it, and it looks pretty similar to what it was before. So I wonder if Modoff, now that he knows he's good on fuel and knows that he's safe, has turned things up. Looks like a little quicker initially, Acosta, and then he started to fall off again. A little bit more on lap 32 compared to last lap, where it was almost dead on to each other, just 0.02 apart. The leader in the Ford, Karl Modoff, out of the junction himself. His gap back to Eisler, who's been the closest car to him for much of this race now, is about 4 seconds. Credit to Christian. He's been keeping him honest. If a mistake did come out of Karl Modoff...
and Christian is off there. He put some wheels off in the grass. That's going to help the cause for Abner Acosta just a little bit. He couldn't get the power down there coming out of Junction.
Was it
Christopher Pfeffer. Yeah, Pfeffer had his right sides off into the grass there coming out of Junction.
The replay here. That's good news for Acosta.
Okay, so
entry.
Yeah, honestly, I think it might have been the difference in replay. He kind of hits that the curb there just a little bit. On my end, it looked like he had a half car width into the grass, but there he was just on the curbing. So might have been sometimes a difference that sometimes you get going over from server to server there.
Pfeffer, though, has only got 1.7 seconds to Acosta, who's lapping another car that you see in the background. James LeBlanc in the SRT Porsche lets him through. After Pfeffer, it's unlikely we'll see Acosta get another one unless Eisler or Modoff has a serious problem, because it's about 7, nearly 8 seconds from Pfeffer to Eisler. More lap traffic, letting them through. We've got, looks like, well, it's going to be 24 cars left on the lead lap here in a moment, because Karl Modoff is lapping Elder now. And then Ray also has come in for a second stop mysteriously, as we now look at the 11th place battle between Espinosa and Romig. Romig wasted opportunity here. The number 71 qualified in 6th position, is all the way down in 12th, but is going to try and challenge Espinoza at least.
We've been talking about spec maps and everything else and how great they look on these cars. Look at Espinoza's. I love that the way they got the spec map set up between the dark green and the black and the light green. It looks great. And I'm not a green fan, and I'm liking it.
Oh, green on a Ferrari is a bit odd, but it's working right now. How much longer will it work? Because Romig is going to send it in deep in that Ford, and Romig gets into 11th, but he doesn't get the launch off of Desida del Lago all that well. Espinoza coming back on him, eventually lifts because it looks like Romig decided to cover off the inside. So up to 11th now for the 71. Just in front of them, got to watch out for Leif Peterson and Caleb Lavender. Lavender's got it down to within a second on the 317. It's got about 6 minutes to do it. That's possible to run him down here with about, 4 or 5 laps left to go. Up at the front, you're not missing anything between our leaders. Modoff is still about 4.5 seconds over Eisler. Acosta's not making the inroads that he needs. He's 1.5 seconds back from Pfeffer, but it seems like it's very, very small increments that he's chipping away at that 3rd place.
Everybody, I think, just kind of getting settled down here for the last couple laps of the race. You only really have a handful of those battles that we've been talking about with Romig now getting around Espinoza. You might have a battle here with Leaf and trying to see who that is. It's Lavender. That might become something. But the other one, too, that we've been keeping an eye on is, of course, Acosta and Christian Pfeffer. And Acosta, he's like, I don't think he can gain enough on him unless Christian makes a mistake. Now, when I say that, though, all it's going to take is one mistake. And that's all it's going to take. It's just that one mistake, one slip up, and Acosta's there. But if Pfeffer can run clean these next few laps and still put down competitive lap times, I think he's going to have enough to hold Acosta at bay.
So far, Pfeffer's been pretty good today, you have to admit. He's been consistent. He's been clean from what we've seen. That's moved him into this 3rd position. Acosta, who is having to push hard to stay with the 66, is really hoping for that error because he is not nearly close enough to try and make an attack. We're down to 4 minutes left to go. Behind them, it's a ways down to Hortal, who is in 5th, about 6 seconds there from Acosta. So they're not under threat from behind if they do start fighting. You see Hortal in his Porsche, the number 59. Went from 8th on the grid up here to a top 5. Pfeffer himself started in 10th before coming up to this 3rd position.
Eisler getting himself into lap traffic, though, but you can be patient with him. Obviously not under any kind of danger of losing that 2nd spot.
And the bad news for Acosta is that really there is no lap traffic nearly close enough for Pfeffer for him to get slowed up by that in the wrong place. I mean, the next one up is up with Christian Eisler, who just overtook Elder. That's a good 5 seconds that they are ahead of the number 66. There's the lap time comparison. Acosta much quicker earlier on, half a second faster on lap 34. And then for some reason it just dwindled down. And as the time went on, he hasn't been able to... Oh, he must have made a mistake. Acosta had an error. just as we were watching, because it's increased by quite a lot, 1.2 seconds now. What happened?
Going back and seeing if I can find it.
I'm not seeing anything.
And I really don't see anything. It might have just been one of those ones. But Pfeffer just had another mistake. That time he really was off in the grass. You actually see the tire tracks there. I still think he has just enough pace to hold Acosta off. If all Acosta can gain is a 10th here and a 10th there. I mean, we're running out of laps.
Only 2 of them to go right now, because as Modoff crosses the line, 1:48. That'll be enough to get around once more before he sees the white flag. Speaking of green, this mint green has definitely been very cool today. Just nobody has phased that 948. And he is coming back with a vengeance after a full season off. Costa's got it down to 0.8 of a second, 0.7 of a second now. I think this is the closest we've seen Abner. Ooh, and a little bit of weaving from Pfeffer. He's trying to break the draft down the Retta Oposta. He obviously feels a little bit worried about this.
I think he just needs to drive. Just keep your eyes in front. Click off the corners. Get to the end of this thing. Don't make a mistake. Don't put any wheels off. Just get through it.
He's only got a lap and a half to do it. And I may eat my words here. They are coming up on lap traffic. It's Elder and Olsen, and they're fighting for position. So the worst possible news here for Christopher Pfeffer, those two probably aren't looking behind them too much. They will get the blue flags. As did we have a problem for Espinoza? I see him grayed out on my timing and scoring. I'll have to go back and check that in a bit. Wonder if he ran out of incident points himself.
Yeah, he's currently off the track.
White flag.
Yeah. I think he got DQ'd in an incident. He had some contact with somebody. Sorry, trying to see who that was. It was Pisano. He had no, it wasn't Pisano. It was Ray. Ray was passing him, and they got neck coated together. And Ray actually got DQ'd as well. So it was netcode that ended up hurting both of them.
Despite getting oh so close, Acosta still just not quite there. In that 4th place, it's going to be a decent recovery. I think he can be happy enough with that, although I'm sure he would have liked to finish ahead of Modoff. These two faced off in 2019 Season 3 for the championship. And in the end, it was Acosta who came out ahead. Right now, Modoff's got the upper hand as we ride on board with Abner Acosta. Pfeffer just in front of him. Coming down to 0.6 of a second, but it's too little, too late. Especially because they're going to see the checkered flag here in a moment. Karl Modoff comes up the hill, past the Subidos dos Boxes, to take victory here in round 2 at Interlagos. Modoff is back.
Eisler's going to get himself a great 2nd place finish. And as I was thinking, Joe, Pfeffer is going to be able to get it over Acosta by only just a little bit.
Yeah, but 0.3 of a second between them at the line. 10th place is hot. And actually, look at this. Lavender and Romig, they are nose to tail as they come off of the junction. That's Romig that you see in the Ford with the Ferrari belonging to Lavender. He's got the slipstream. Is it going to be enough? They almost come together, nearly touching, and it looks like Lavender holds him off, but just by a hair. Down in 17th, Duhamel is being chased by Carollo. Half a second between them. The 617 Porsche leading the Ford. But Jeff could get himself a good run coming off of the junction. Let's see Adam if he can do it.
It's going to be tight. Now you got to try to use that draft as much as you can. Carollo's going to have himself a good run here. I just don't think it's going to be good enough. He might be able to get to his quarter panel. Oh, big block there from Duhamel. That block actually might have cost him. It cost him, slowed him down just a touch, but he's still able to hold on.
Duhamel is going to get 17th. Carollo finishes 18th. That's the last of our cars on the lead lap, with only 21 of them coming home on the same lap as our leader. It'll take us to break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Interlagos. We just watched round 2 here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series, and it was Karl Modoff who started in second, but he capitalized on a lap 1 incident between the leaders to work his way around, get to the lead, and then never look back. He wound up the victor here today. Christian Eisler followed him home into second. Bit of a familiar spot for the 727, but you got to watch out. He has been pretty consistent in recent seasons. Christopher Pfeffer, another one who climbed up well from 10th on the grid to 3rd, with Abner Acosta being involved in that lap 1 incident. He was on the pole. He went all the way down to 26, and in the end, he climbed his way to 4th, but he couldn't get onto the podium. Ignacio Ortal finished 5th behind him. And then another Ignacio Fredes back there in P6 from 15th. Horacio Calquin finished P7 today. Justin Rame finished 8th, and Leif Peterson with a good gain up to 9th. Caleb Lavender rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, how about that run from Lavender? He kind of had a quiet top 10 there. Sean Romick coming home in 11th. Anthony Pisano in 12th. Those are both guys that were kind of running up there just a little bit and kind of fell off toward the middle part of the race, but not fall off too much. So 11th and 12th would be good points today. John Mark Tremblay in 13th. David Duino in 14th. Brett Thurman 15th. Paulo Munez is another guy that was looking good in the middle of this thing. 16th for him. Sean Duhamel in 17th. Jeff Corallo in 18th. Joey Trungale coming home in 19th, and Kenny Rodriguez in 20th.
21st went to Jorge Villegas, with Donald Olson being the first driver a lap down and 22nd. Then it's Robert Elder, who we certainly saw in some action, especially towards the end. 23rd for him. James LeBlanc, P24, with Jay Steffi in 25th. Then it's Mike Burnett behind him in 26th. The 27th spot went to Christopher Albright. William Janssen was 28th and Jose Malbron 29th. One of the last few cars a lap down was Chase Mundy, who was looking a little bit better earlier on the race, but he was 30th.
Going back to 31st position, Todd Lowendeck, Andres Espinoza in 32nd, Jason Ray in 33rd. Garrido, he had that lap one incident there. He had to park it about halfway through, and he's going to come home at 34th. Spencer Simquich, 35th. Gary Schilling at 36th. Tyler Zube, he qualified great, ended up putting qualifying fuel in, was having a good recovery drive, but ultimately ended up in an incident. He's going to come home 37th. James Hebb, 38th. Grayson Sullivan, 39th. Louis Cimbelli in 40th. And our first retiree of the day ended up being Ken Huber in 41st.
Well, we've got our winner ready to talk to us. Carl Modoff is going to join us here in the booth. And Carl, I don't know if you went on a spa retreat. I don't know if you went to the mountains as a recluse or what you did in your time off, but it helps because you came back with a victory and a convincing one today.
Hey guys, I've been missing it, so I decided to come back this season, and I had a really good race. I definitely was helped out by Abner getting turned around on the first lap. He had a really good pace, so it would have been a different storyline of the race if he hadn't happened. But it was a lot of fun. I felt really good out there, just clicking off laps. So glad to be back. Looking forward to the rest of the season.
Were you managing the pace about mid-race? Because we did notice there was a brief time that Eisler looked like he caught up to you slightly, and then suddenly that switched back around. What happened there?
To be honest, as the tires wear on this thing, if you're like hitting the same brake markers and everything, it gets harder to drive. And I was making mistakes actually pushing. So when I tried to manage the pace, I actually went faster. So I was just driving too hard. I wasn't managing at all. And he started catching me. He had really good pace at the end of the race and in the middle. And look, I just slowed down a little bit, and the car kind of came to me. So I found a little bit of pace there. But definitely no maintaining anything there.
So last time you and Acosta faced off, obviously he came out the victor, but your reputation, especially that season in which you won every single race of the season, really testifies to your tenacity. What do you think heading forward it's going to be like between you facing off again with Abner?
I think it's going to be great. It's one of the main reasons I came back to the series this season was he looked like he needed some competition, and I was itching to get back at it. So, I came back here looking to have he's fast at every track. He's a good, consistent driver, too. So as the race goes on, he doesn't really fall off or make mistakes. So it's looking like it's going to be a really good season. I picked the Ford this year just because it's different than the Porsche, and I think it's kind of a little bit longer, a little bit better longevity on the tires. So looking forward to having a little bit more competitiveness at the end of the race. And hopefully the Ford helps me knock Abner off this time instead of the other way around.
Always fascinating to hear the reasoning for drivers picking different cars. Congratulations once again. Anybody you'd like to thank before you go?
Just friends, family that care enough to watch, and you guys for announcing this, and Jerome and PRL for hosting the series. It's always awesome. Thanks for everyone for competing, and look forward to next round. See you guys in a couple weeks. Thank you.
That was Carl Modoff, victor here today at Interlagos. Up next, the Iceman returns, and Adam is going to be talking to our second place finisher.
Yeah, Christian, a very strong second place run here to start the season. And I got to say, it was a quiet second place. Once you got out of that first lap and everything that happened in front of you, and you just kind of just coasted on home.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's a very consistent race for me. The problem in the first lap, and after that, I the rest of the race. Unfortunately, car was very, very fast.
You're kind of breaking up there just a touch, but I think we got the general gist of what you were saying, the general idea of what you were saying. Now, at the same time, though, you had a great run there. You were very consistent. You brought up the fact that you were consistent in, I guess, quiet in a way. But that's going to be what wins you a championship, is it not?
Tough championship, very fast drivers here, and Christopher, Diego are very fast drivers. I will like to stand with this guy, and maybe sometime I tournament.
All right. Well, hey, Christian, you kind of break it up just a little bit more, but so I think we're going to have to let you go. But I do want to say congratulations on the second place finish, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. I want ButtKicker. Thank you for the support. Bye.
That was Christian Eisler finishing second. I believe that was a thank you to ButtKicker that he was saying. So we also want to thank them for their sponsorship. But we have one more we want to talk to. That's Christopher Pfeffer, who took a third today after qualifying 10th. That looked like a lot better race pace than qualifying pace, Chris. Would you attribute that to poor qualifying or maybe some attrition up front? What do you think brought you a podium today?
I think it was just a chaotic race up front tonight because I personally don't think I drove well enough at all to deserve a podium. So I'm feeling pretty fortunate to get third place tonight.
Now, we heard Carl say that he chose the Ford this season due to he feeling it has better tire wear, less tire wear rather, over the course of a stint. What was your reasoning to switch? Because you were in the Porsche before.
Yeah, the team and we all decided to switch to the Ford this season for similar reasons. It has better tire wear, and maybe it's a bit better on tracks like this where it's got the long straights that you need the straight line for. And it's a nice change to change up cars every season.
Well, you're going to have one long straight next round when we come back in January at Imola, but it's a lot twistier. So do you think that's going to be a tough one, sort of damage limitation at that track in the Ford?
I think it should be all right there, actually. I think the Ford will be pretty good. And I want to thank the sponsors as well, SimMSA and the ButtKicker for their support, and my team, GTR SimSport, and of course you guys for your awesome broadcast. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. One last one before we let you go. What track are you looking forward to most this season, looking at the schedule?
Actually, this the next one in Imola. It's one of my favorite tracks, and I've not done any races on it since I've gotten iRacing. I'm really looking forward to it.
Great stuff. Well, congratulations. Sounds like you already got your thank yous in. We will talk to you hopefully in a couple weeks' time.
Thanks, guys.
That was Chris Pfeffer, third place out there today. And we are going to thank those sponsors ourselves with a big nod to Simulation Motorsports Affinity. If you want to check them out, they are at SIMMSA.net. And also to the prize offerings from ButtKicker. They are at thebuttkicker.com. Obviously, they've got both the teams and the drivers' prizes in store for the third season in a row. Also, thank you to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and subscribe when you get the opportunity. All you got to do is click the big red button that says subscribe. Thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. And also thanks to the team today, Adam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Check out our social media. Our Twitter is @GSR Channel. Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. If you look in the link below, in the description below, there is a link to our GSRC Store NV. If you go over there, you can see all kind of items that you could potentially win if you subscribe to our GSRC channel over on YouTube. So make sure and do that and see if you could get yourself either a hat or shirt or whatever you want from our store. The next race, as we said, going over to Italy for Imola. That'll be Tuesday, January 7th. We're going to have a break for the holidays here. It'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern, but we have other upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, see you on the track.